Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pool Box Pals podcast. I am Monk, and here with me is, I feel like I've said this before, and I definitely have, the ever charming and the always lovely Mark. How you doing over there, buddy?
Sorry, who? Who are you describing?
You
Oh,
luscious, beautiful man, you.
sorry. I'm
Are you
doing
posting
something
on the
over here.
internet? Are you letting people know about this fine podcast being
I
live
I
right now?
sure am. I am super distracted by this at the moment. I'll get to it, but
Well,
but
you know what
yeah,
they
no,
say about social media.
it
It's
kills.
super just it does. I mean, I'm sure it does. That's 100% true. Uh but anyways, how's your social media treating you? And by social media, I mean your real life.
Oh yeah. Well, my social reel.
I don't know.
I don't know.
My real media,
My real media. Yeah.
reality media.
No, it's pretty good, man. Yeah, I like the. I'm kind of liking where I'm at with the community around here, and
Nice. How's
yeah.
the weather out there? Let's talk about weather.
Right now it's like sunny with some overcast clouds, and let's see
Classic.
how. Let's see, and it's oh man, I need to do these again. I have this weather app called Carrot. If
Yeah.
anybody else has it, I'm sure they love it as much as I do. But
Oh.
you can actually like do a newscast for the day and like send it to your friends. I'm gonna send one to you tomorrow.
Really?
Actually, no, let's just do this right now. Here,
Oh, this is gonna
let's
be
just do
fun.
this.
Live
All
on the
right.
podcast. Here we go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm Brock Thorson with the weather for Corvallis. Currently, it's 69 degrees, and lucky us, it's
Nice.
partly sunny. It's going to be mostly moony tonight with a low of 55. Tomorrow, partly clear skies with a high of 76. Up next, is energy vampire draining your life force? We
Oh
will tell you
no.
the warning signs.
Yeah, that was wow. I
There you
think
go.
you might have picked the wrong career, my friend.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah. You could be a news caster person. You have the face.
yeah.
You got a nice
I so have
non-threatening
the
face.
weatherman face. It's just, yeah,
You're in good
killer.
shape. You could point at like
Here,
things.
I'm putting it up in my posts. Oh, wait. No, not there. In my reels.
That thing that
Sharing the
you just
weather.
did.
Yeah, it's gonna be in my reels for Mad Nerdy. So anybody can watch that as much as they want.
All right. Well, there's a plug for Mark's Instagram. Go over there and check out
Trying to
Mad
trying to become
underscore.
a Wednesday afternoon weatherman.
Maybe you should like do your polls like that. Just be like, and this week we've got Mandalorian number 4, and oh, there it is.
Challenge
There's the
accepted.
all right.
Challenge.
I'm excited to see next week's reel from you where you pretend to be a weatherman. But
All
Mark,
right.
what are you drinking, buddy?
Today I got the Freiheit from Wayfinder Brewing. It is a fest beer. It is Oktoberfest at the moment.
Well, there
and
you go.
I will be working Oktoberfest at Common Fields here in town this weekend. So if anybody listening wants to see me on Friday or Saturday, that's where I will be.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, buddy, I'd hate to let you down, so I'm not going to. I've got a good old brisk just sitting here waiting to be consumed
I would
by
expect
yours truly.
nothing less from you.
No, so we have a local tea called Gears iced tea.
Yeah.
And
That's great. We don't have
thank
a
you.
local iced tea here that I
No,
know of.
we do. And I was thinking about, it's like one of my favorite teas, and I was thinking about getting one earlier, and I'm like, no. It's Wednesday night. It's Pool Box Pals time. That means it's time for your boy to drink a brisk and feel
That's
nice
brisk,
and refreshed.
baby.
That's brisk, baby. That's comic, baby. Maybe that's what our tagline should be at the end. That's brisk, baby.
I like that's comics, baby. That we could
All
do
right,
that.
maybe we'll do that. We'll see if we remember.
We'll see.
But what's the first thing we do on this podcast besides chin wag for a little bit?
Well, I mean, we always show off our beverages, which we just did, and
We've
then
done.
we get into our polls, and it is episode 24, which means it's an
Heck yeah.
even number, and even numbers mean that I go first.
That's right. And our good buddy Carl says, "What's up?" And
What's up, Carl?
Carl, we're about to tell you what's up. We're gonna tell you that Mark got some pretty cool comics. Carl commented on our one of our, I think maybe it was my post about my pools, and he did a good one.
Yeah, no, I saw that he had a one that I got as well. So
Wow,
at least one.
yeah, I can just read it off real quick. It's Night of the Ghoul #1, Dark Rides #1, Gotham City Year One #1, Never Ender #5, Mind MGMT Bootleg #4, Hulk #9, and Batman 128, which I think we both got, right?
I haven't actually added that one to my pull list at my shop, but
Me
it
neither.
gives me an excuse to be like, oh, I got to go back to the comic shop. So
I haven't added it either. And this week when I was checking out my comic book, I was like, "Oh, Batman, huh? You're gonna finally check out Batman?" And I'm like, "I've been doing this for a while. I've been on this run for a bit, but yeah,
it's my fourth one. Excuse me.
yeah. I mean, Carl said it. That the reason why I'm on Batman is, I mean, everyone's getting Zdarsky. He's like all over Batman, right? He's just like doing multiple things. Correct?
Zdarsky. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Nice.
But yeah, well, let's get into our polls, huh?
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm gonna drink some brisk, baby.
Get some brisk, baby. Number one here is Mandalorian #4.
Nice.
Followed by, I'm pretty excited about this. I really enjoyed the first issue. So this is issue 2 of Minor Threats.
I was thinking about picking that up. I saw it in my shop, and I was just like, I'm gonna let Mark do that one.
Thank you.
No
It
problem.
is mine. It is mine.
I'll keep my hands off.
Shock Shop #2 also came out from Dark Horse.
Nice.
And then I also got #3 of Survival Street, which
nice.
I read it, I ended up reading issue 2 and then issue 1 and then issue 2. So,
right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty stoked for #3. And then I got issue #3 of Dead Lucky. And that one is, I believe, Image.
Yep.
And this one, here's one that I forgot. So I added this one because the comic book shop manager, she had recommended this series to me, and so I read the first arc that came out for it, and this is the follow-up one called Blood for Blood, but it's Gun Honey Blood for Blood. So that's from that's the Hard Case Crime from Titan Books.
Jeez, that's a new name.
Yeah, it's not new. It's been around.
Has it?
Time. Yeah. They do the Star Wars Insider, I believe, is something that they release.
Really?
Yeah, well, I think that's
I guess
right.
I'm a fool.
And then I got number 4 of Illusion Witch, and I noticed this when I was checking out.
What's that say? Behemoth?
Not anymore.
No. So I can't read it that well.
Sumerian.
Yeah,
they're changing their name apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I really like Behemoth.
I do too. Well, now Sumerian. But
Sumerian's not bad.
Yeah.
They're both words you can find in the Bible, depending on your translation.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
That is true. And then I got Sword of Azrael #3.
Nice.
There's 6 issues of that. And then the one in common that I have with our buddy Carl. Gotham City, Year 1, #1.
Wow. So is that like the birth of Gotham? What is that?
So yeah, let me tell you a little bit about that, huh?
Go ahead. I'm gonna sit right here.
So this is my favorite fact of this this new series.
Let's hear
so
it.
Tom King is the writer. Tom King has done quite a bit of Batman. I'm sure Carl can attest to that. He did I think it was One Bad Day for the Riddler, like Batman One Bad Day. You know that series that's going on. He did at least the Riddler one, and I got that. But he is an Eisner Award winning author, so that you got that going.
That's
but
impressive.
Also I kind of researched him, and I went down a little rabbit hole, and I did not know this about him, but he is an ex-CIA officer.
Oh my! Oh
and he's writing Batman comics.
Well, hey, I
So
mean, what are you
no,
gonna do once you
I think
retire?
I think that transition's amazing. Like
Oh yeah, it does.
go from an ex CIA officer to an Eisner Award winning writer of comic books. But yeah, so
Wow, I've done nothing
he's
with my life.
other things that he's done too is he did do you know the Vision series that Marvel put out a few years ago? Like
Yeah,
I
the
think
one with him.
yeah, and WandaVision was based a little bit on it, and it's
Right.
like he has the Vision family. So
Hmm.
he did that. And yeah, he's done a ton of Batman, as I said. He also did the Sheriff of Babylon from Vertigo, which is a imprint of DC. And
Interesting.
then he's also written the Mr. Miracle comics for DC.
Nice.
So yeah, and then it's penciled by Phil Hester, who did a lot of Green Arrow work back. I think Tom King's Batman one was pretty divisive. Yeah, and you
Oh,
want to pull that up?
yep. Was it really? We stand by him in this household. Hey,
That's
if Carl says it, then then that's the case. Just to read the whole comment, Tom King's Batman run was pretty divisive, but we stand him in this household. You know, I would hate to be seen disagreeing with Carl.
yeah. And then it's inked by Eric Gapster, and Jordi Belair is the colorist, and it's lettered by Clayton Cowles. But yeah, this is like a chapter one. This is supposed to be like the event in which the Gotham and in all its like early heyday glory, how it turned into such like a dark crime. And
Mm,
it's like a few generations before Bruce Wayne's even born. So
nice.
like I think it's his like great grandparents are the current like Waynes of Gotham.
Yeah.
And then I guess the focus. So learned this. There's a warning for it for racially offensive language.
Okay. Wow.
Um,
In a Batman
and
comic?
yeah. And it's because it surrounds the investigator Slam Bradley, like who is from like the golden era of Batman comics, like way back in the day when
Hmm.
like racial slurs and stuff were a little more common in comic books. And
Yeah.
I think what I read from Bleeding Cool is that like they're still trying to capture his character in that time. And I think
Hmm.
he might just be like a young investigator, because obviously he had to have been around when Batman came around if he was in the original Batman comics.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Man, I'm slouching real bad. I'm sinking into my chair.
Hey, man,
Um,
we're here to relax. I want you to be
but
comfortable.
yeah, so it's just there is that, which we'll see how that goes. And then King said of it that in Gotham City Year One, Phil and I will take you on a Nor drenched past, where the secrets that made Gotham become Gotham, the sins that made Batman become Batman, are finally and violently revealed.
Oh my goodness.
And then Phil Hester, the artist, he said, "Night falls quickly in Gotham City. The shadows cut across guilty and innocent alike. And he feels lucky to be the artist to show you how this city got so dark in the first place." So
That's
I'm
pretty
pretty
cool.
excited about the artwork for this new series. I think I wrote it down. I think it's 6 issues. So
Nice.
yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, I'd heard that this time of the year there was going to be just so much Batman stuff and so much DC stuff around that. So I mean,
Yeah.
Batman seems to be fucking going wild right now. Just with all the stuff that's associated with him, and we've talked about this before, just how many Batman stuff is coming out right now. But since we're
Yeah.
talking about Batman, we might as well just swing over to yours truly's pool pile, because that's
Yeah.
just
What do you
sitting right
got?
here. Um, like I said, I got issue 128 of Batman. I'm actually behind. I didn't read 127 yet, so this will be
Okay.
nice to kind of shotgun these back to back. I just real quick, I'm a fan of this cover. You got Robin and uh, the other guy standing behind him. Is
Who is that guy?
who's that guy? He's not on like every hat and lunchbox in the world. But yeah, that's that one. And then surprisingly, very quickly after issue number 3, we have Ant-Man issue number 4. So this is going to be the last one of this run, and I'm sure I'll be talking about this next week. So make sure
Oh,
to stick
that's
around
right.
because
I
Yeah, it's
forgot it
just
was only 4 issues.
yeah, just the four, just kind of capping off who the old Ant-Men were, and then introducing a new one that's very far in the future. And they finally introduced the threat in the last issue, so hopefully this issue is just Bam Pow Poo fighting the new threat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that one, and this is next one is something I wanted to pick up, but my shop didn't have it for a while and just got it today. This is Blink number 2 and then Blink number 3. Yeah, been a big fan of them. That's
So
our
wait.
buddy.
So
What's up?
wait, you got the first one when it first came out, but you just now got 2 and 3.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
It does.
I'm
It goes like that sometimes.
It does go like that. I've
Yeah.
been a big fan of this, so I'm happy to be able to dive farther into it. I love Hayden Sherman. Is that the guy's name? Yeah, Hayden Sherman. He does the art in this, and man, it never disappoints. And then my only number one for the week is this guy right here, and it's called Three Keys, and it's from
Ooh.
Image Comics.
Wait, hold that a little bit closer. That like big guy standing in the
Sure.
back.
Trying to get it so
Is
that
that
there's
like
no
a
glare.
is that like
He's
a
like a
white
tiger man. Yeah.
a white
Um,
tiger man.
A white tiger man. So here, let me read you the synopsis for this. Did the inhabitants of another dimension flee into our reality to save themselves from the terrible wrath of the great old ones, or to help prepare us for a final devastating invasion? And what if humanity's only chance against these great old ones is an impetuous, mischievous young woman and her sardonic
How
furry,
how do you
huh?
spell that?
Sardonik. Sardonic?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Furry and surprisingly violent mentor. Uh, all questions are asked and answered in the 5-part introduction to writer and artist David Messiah's epic apocalypse universe featuring 27 full story pages. So yeah, this looks like it's all done by this David Messina guy. And yeah, I try to grab at least one number one each week, and it's pretty much just based on opening up and seeing if I enjoy what's in there. And yeah, this one did the trick for me. So yeah, I'll touch back later with you and let you know how it is. But
Nice.
you and I, we read a fair bit amount of comics in common this week, didn't we?
We did. I mean, at least 2.
3.
3. What's the other one? Oh, right. Yeah,
Oh, there you go. Don't
because I don't have it on display behind me because
no.
it's from one of those digital.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you were forgetting about a different one. Anyways, let's dive into the one that's sitting right behind you here. You don't have to get it off because I feel like it'll knock down a bunch of things and maybe even hit you in the head. And I'm
Yeah, I'm
worried about your noggin.
really good at knocking those comics off my little shelf.
But we are going to talk about Hell is a Squared Circle. I was going to say number 1, but it's
It's a one shot.
what
Yeah.
Aftershock calls it it's
A one
it's a
after
one
shot.
shock. No, it's a
One
one shock.
shock. Yeah, one
Yeah.
shock. Yeah.
I mean, up in the corner it says one shot, but like on their page and whatever, I think they
Yeah.
said
And I mean
one shock.
there's been quite a bit of buzz about this comic.
Oh my God! Let's just there really has been, but let's just read this inside bit real quick and say that "Hell is a Squared Circle" is by Chris Condon, who's the writer of that Texas Blood Witch. I just remembered I was supposed to get issue number 18 today, but my shop just doesn't order it anymore. So I asked them to continue to pick that up for me, which is a bummer because that's such a great comic. The art is by Francesco Biagini. The colorist is Mark Englis, and the letterer is Dave Sharp. So do you want to explain this comic? Do you want to talk about it? How do you dive in on this?
Well, I mean, it's everything that was like advertised about it, but just done like so much better than you would have expected. At least that was kind of my take with it. It just I really appreciated all of the art that went into it and just how much of a tribute it really was to like the old classic comics from I can't even remember what like it's yeah, I think it's like the golden / atomic years of comics, which is,
Yeah.
late 40s to mid 50s. But yeah, it's basically just about a guy who just is every day down on his luck, and we get one story in his life where he kind of finally gets to where he wants to be, but then like the day he has everything that he like set out to do, it all just comes crashing down on him again.
Yeah.
um and this like it was also just narrated too, like for the most part.
Mm,
Like there wasn't a whole lot of like, there was dialogue obviously, but like
hmm.
most of the story is told through the narration of the
Yeah.
main character, Ted the Irish Muska Walsh, who he goes on and takes on a whole other persona and becomes Tombstone,
Yeah, I believe
and
so.
changes his name as well. But
Gets
yeah,
old.
he gets old.
Well,
It's
let me ask you the most important question. Did you
okay.
enjoy this comic?
Oh, I rather enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was another one where I was just like, I don't know, my wife was probably watching the Kardashian show, and I was just like in there. She may not have been watching Kardashians at
Yeah.
that time,
I bet she
but
was watching Andor.
no, she might have been reading the, like, news.
Yeah, she was
But
reading the news
yeah,
as
so
one
it's
tends to
just
do.
there's just times where like we're both just sitting in bed and I'm reading a comic and she's doing what like her thing for that time, and
Girl
it,
stuff.
it I wouldn't call it. I mean,
Yeah, and
well,
girls can read comics too, so I'm
Addicted to brisk.
we just got a comment from good old buddy Ethan. Yeah, I mean, addicted's a strong word. I'm probably honestly more addicted to Gears tea that we were talking about earlier, but this is like it's rituals are important. So this is a ritual. We're on the Pool Box Pals, and I'm drinking some brisk tea,
and I'm drinking my brews.
brews.
My
A bruised
brews.
tea. Maybe one day they'll make a brisk iced tea beer,
I
and
mean,
then I'll be able to drink it.
I really do like the can for this too.
It is a
Beer
pretty
I'm
dope
drinking.
can.
Yeah. But anyways, back to hell is a squared circle. I keep calling it hell is a circled square.
It
But
sounds
then
like
like,
it's like you selected it. Hell is this one.
yeah, so it's a circled square. No, but yeah. Uh and it is just like he has this repetitive circle in his life, but he's also so like boxed in by the like
Mm,
just his little bubble of a world, and it's just like he's in a hell among hell.
yeah. Man, I did enjoy this comic, but this comic did one of those things, and this isn't really a spoiler or anything, but um They I'm such like an optimist, I think by nature of just being like, everyone's kind of just their lives gonna go good. Everyone's gonna enjoy the ride along the way. And like even like there are some hard times, but like you'll be okay to pull through. And then I
Yeah,
read like a comic like this where it's just kind of like one tragedy or one mistake after another, one screw up
yeah.
after another. And like before you know it, you're just like 17 miles deep into the hole.
Oh
Um
yeah.
and I yeah, I really felt that reading this comic. And like at the end, I wasn't
Well,
left with like a sense of like I don't want to say I was left with a sense of dread, but more of just like a sense of like I don't know. It's I just felt bad for the guy, you
and
know?
it's just like, was it Condone wrote it? Yeah.
Yeah.
He did a really good job of like keeping empathy at arm's length for Ted,
Mm,
where it's just like you understand what he's going through. You can feel like his struggle
mhm,
with just who he is, where he wants to be, like, and I think that's just like a common thing for people in general. But I mean, this story, so many comic book stories we get are just like your protagonist wins at the end of the day, and
mhm,
this one just totally pulls the rug out from underneath his feet, and it's just it's really sad, but it is just also like a truth of the reality that we live in for
mhm,
so many people.
mhm.
um but no, like, yeah, I really felt for Ted like throughout reading it,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just like all the supporting characters too. I mean, like the amount of like panel time they got, we'll say, was just like really on the nose for the character development of Ted. Like there wasn't like
Okay.
too much. It was just like you got enough detail to like the relational issue
Mm-hmm.
for each
Mm.
of the characters, um, to just be like, all right, well, here it comes again for Ted. But you also just see how so much of that just came back around for him, and how like his choices just ultimately uh, crumbled his life.
Well, right. And like I think going back of kind of what you were saying earlier about the idea of it being just so narratively driven.
Yeah,
Like it's interesting because a lot of comics it's the panels or the art that I feel like tell the story, and then you kind of you can I don't know. It feels like in a lot of comics, the panels of the art and the words are like going together, but this it always felt like somebody was telling me a story and it was following it. Does that make sense? The art.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and I think you made a really good point there that like everyone was kind of kept at like a distance. And even like not just his family, but like his manager and stuff. We never really learned much about the people in his life around him. It's all from his perspective, from a pretty
yeah,
much, and I think that that's interesting too because um, we know that like in what happens for me might not be the exact same thing that happens for you, even though we experience the same thing, or at least our memories of it isn't the same. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I thought that that was very interesting, especially like this. The most important thing about the comic was the story, because even in the middle there's a time jump, and with that time jump it doesn't it doesn't matter that we're leaving the past behind because it's still a part of the narrative. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah,
So like we're not leaving anything in the dust or like whatever. It's all literally just like it's the end goal is to tell this story, and we're going to do whatever we can to get there. Does that make sense?
yeah. And it was an absolutely perfect story for a one shock from Aftershock, and also too with like the aspect of it being narrated. That's just like another, like the art was a tribute to old comics, but so was the narrative. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just like if you picked up a comic back in the 1940s and it was, I don't know, say a Dick Tracy comic,
Gotta love it.
you hear a lot of like Dick Tracy like just narrating the whole
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just like another aspect of it that I really liked, because yeah, like, and I do like this more about the comics we're getting today, is just like how much of the story is told through just the art simply, where
Yeah.
like you have your dialogue. And you know, we've talked before about like I don't like when the panels are polluted with dialogue speech bubbles.
Same.
Like, because for me, yes, the picture itself says so much about what's going on. And so when they make the dialogue so concise like they did in Hell is a Squared Circle, and have this like narration that's still just carrying you along, and yes, it did have the feel of somebody is telling me this story, like
Mm-hmm.
watching a documentary essentially.
Yeah,
um
it felt very much just like a like a what a like a dramatized documentary. It felt like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I think I gave it like 4.3 out of
4.5.
5,
Yeah, yeah,
4.5 out of
4.3.
5. Yeah.
Something in
I
that
have I have a rating system I've shared with you, and I just add
yeah.
those numbers up and divide it by, first I divide it by 10, and then I divide it by 2. No, I divide it by, yeah, I divide it by
Oh,
10, then divide it by 2.
my goodness. We're
Yeah.
just well, at least you know your method. I need to start doing
Or I guess more simply is divide it by 20, but
well, there you go. I guess hey, we all have our whatever gets you there, buddy. That's all that matters.
yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say about this before we move on to something else?
No, I'm good with it, man. I just if you're interested, I highly recommend anybody listening, watching, go pick up a copy, or at least wait for it to come out on digital. And if you see it and you have the chance to read it, it's worth sitting down and reading.
Yeah. Aw. Well, Carl said a nice, sweet message that is bagging and boarding and organizing my haul with you all in the background. Nothing
I mean,
better.
that's
Hey,
honestly, that's what everybody should be doing. If
yeah, go organize your comics. I don't know if you can
yeah,
see behind me on the table back there, but there's like, I always get this way. I just let so many comics pile up. I usually do it like once a month, so that's like 4 pools that I have to like all organize, and uh,
yeah.
it's a pain in the butt. But all right, buddy, you want to get on to the next comic, which is the digital one.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
let's get into that one.
got a new comment down here from a Mr. Magic Bone. He says, um,
Born.
Born,
Miss
sorry. He says,
Doctor Magic Born.
hey guys. And he also said, oh, Carl said, not drinking tea or brews though. So, well, that's fine. Um, you should definitely get yourself some teas or brews. You have that place down in Lancaster, that walk-in freezer place, and they have a bunch of good beers, but I don't know if you drink, so I'm not going to tell you to go out and drink. But tea is always a good thing. I'm a big fan of
Comes
all
second.
sorts of tea. But you want to talk about Clear, buddy?
Let's talk about Clear.
All right. Do you want to look this up? Because I don't know who it's the art is by. I can't remember, but it is written
Yeah,
by
it's by Scott Snyder.
right.
Sorry to
And
jump on that.
no, it's okay. I was the only fact I had prepared about this comic was that
Which
Zack Snyder wrote it, and it's so dark
no,
and gritty.
Scott
Oh
Snyder.
no. Oh no. I know. I was making a little
But
jokey poo.
it seems to me though that everything that you and I have been reading on Comixology is written by Scott Snyder.
Dude, well, see this. I was gonna mention this. I'm for those of you who haven't listened to this podcast in the past. I've currently reading like 2 comics, Canary and Barnstormers by Scott Snyder. And then you
Yeah,
pointed this out last week that this was available on Comixology. So, like I said, those 3 comics are all on Comixology. And then
yeah.
today, I went to the comic shop, and lo and behold, there was a comic on the shelf, which was a Comixology exclusive, which I guess they just publish stuff now. And it was by Scott Snyder with somebody else. This
Huh.
dude is just like all over the place.
All over Comixology.
Jeez. And like
But
it's
I mean,
just,
he's all over too. I have quite a bit of stuff written by Scott Snyder.
do you
But yeah,
really? This is
yeah,
like the first that I've really, I know he's like been on Batman and stuff like that, and he's well known in the community, but I'm pretty sure this is
yeah,
the first thing that I've read by him.
yeah. Oh, this was. You mean the Comixology stuff is the first
Yeah,
stuff you've read by him?
I
Okay, yeah,
think maybe like no, he did do Batman the Court of Owls, did he?
yeah.
I have a comic up there that says Scott Snyder on it, so that would
No,
imagine that I have read that one.
Court of Owls
I think I'm
was.
wrong. Did you ever find the artist for this stuff?
Oh yeah, sorry. The artist is Francis Manapul or Manapul.
I think that
Manapul.
might be the same person that he's doing the comic that I saw at my comic shop with.
Oh, okay. Do you know
Yeah,
what it's
because that
called?
name's no, I'm trying so hard and I can't remember what it was. Um, well, let's talk about this one before we start. We can go down a
Let's get
rabbit hole
into it.
on Scott Snyder. Um,
So, but I guess one of the things too to point out is that like this one was fully available. Like all 6 issues have already been released, and it I
yeah,
think
so
what
this is kind of old, I would
yeah,
imagine,
but it showed up
relatively
in
speaking.
like on my Comixology like recommended list, and I
Hmm.
think that the full compilation of all 6 was just put into like one digital comic, and
Right.
that's what I ended up reading was the one that just took you all the way through. Um, but yeah, it was a good one to be able to like pick up and sit down on like the phone, just like in between. I really like
Physical copies.
the well, I really like the Stephen King method of just like always having something to read on you. And like, you know,
Mm,
he says like, you know, if you're riding up an elevator and you have a chance to read a paragraph, read that paragraph, mark where you're at and set it down. Just like always continue to keep pushing forward in what you're reading. And so that's what I like about having like comics in my pocket with my phone
hmm. That
is
is
that I
very
can just
nice.
pick them up. And so I was able to read this one just over the course of the week while just, you know, if I was sitting and watching my kids practice or
Oh,
whatever, and or just, you know, maybe it was what I was reading in bed. And I just really got drawn into it. It was kind of like a new like detective noir series, like or more
Mm.
modern one.
Yeah, it was like a
And
cyberpunk noir.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just it's called clear because people who are clear are people who see reality for what it is,
Mm.
and then everybody else in the world, they all wear veils, and the veils
Yeah.
let you see the world how you want to see it. So if you want to see a world full of Jurassic Park life, like, well, then that's the world that you can have a veil to live in that world.
Right.
And everybody has their own. So if they want to live in the old west, they're living in the old west.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main character, forgetting his name.
Ah, my goodness. Dunes. Sunny
Dune,
Dunes. No, that's not. It's
not
definitely
Sunny
Dunes.
Dunes,
Is Sammy?
but he's maybe Sam Dunes. Yeah,
Sam Dunes. All right, there we go.
I believe that's right. He's like this. I think he's a private detective because obviously he has some scuffles with the real detectives throughout
Sure.
the series.
But I mean, they like
Um,
focus on his job for like one panel. Like it's barely like,
they kind of just let you know, like, this is what he does for a living. Yeah,
yeah. I think it is. I yeah. Yeah. There's definitely times later in the comic where it goes back to like mentioning his job, and I'm just like, does this man have a job? What does he do? Because it just seems like he's out there just fighting like crime, you know. Um, but yeah. So uh, I'm glad you recommended this because I definitely feel relatable to you and like how I read this of just like whenever I have a chance of just picking it up and continuing on the story. And that's something
yeah,
that I like just to kind of go off of what you said. It's so nice about digital comics about just being able to pick them up and like just go from where you are. It's
yeah,
really nice to like sit down with a physical comic and read that way. That's like it's,
and and smell it too.
yeah, I don't do that much. Maybe maybe I should
You
start
don't get your
sniffing my
nose in there. Just
comics.
go.
Nah, I mean I will at some point. Maybe during this I'll give my Ant-Man 4 a sniff. Um, but yeah. So yeah, uh I thought that this was a very good allegory for modern times, if that
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense. Because, like you said, we're talking about this idea of everyone living with a veil over their face or living in the reality that they choose to and not really acknowledging the reality that is.
well, and
Um,
it's obviously like it's a play on like futuristic social media in a sense of
well,
just
I mean,
like,
fuck, it's even a play on like uh, Instagram filters. Like I was
yeah,
thinking about that stuff, you know, like people have the same or like TikTok, like you use the same filters on there and like that's just your world to some degree, you know? So like I 100% believe the reality where like you just I don't know. It's it I can see how like social media exists now and obviously like it can if it continued to amp up, I completely understand how it would like end there, you know?
yeah. Um, but yeah, so like the other aspect of it too is obviously with a protagonist has to have something that he's fighting against or going after, and so we have Dunes going after um kind of, I think it's called like the Black Veil or Dark Veil. Like there's
The Black Veil, I
the
think.
black, yeah.
Or
And so
okay,
it,
so I think a black veil is one of those. It's a like communal veil. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay,
and they're not legal.
yeah,
And
because the idea of like a group delusion can grow like you know if it would to grow to a certain degree, then everyone believes that it's actual reality and would fight for it,
they could
kind of thing.
get caught in like a loop of a story and just exist in like a moment forever.
Yeah,
um
I will say it was kind of. I wish there would have been like a scene like at the beginning of showing like how a veil works,
yeah,
because and at one point in the comic, you see somebody get a veil, and it's like an acid tablet, you know, like it's very small and it's a microchip. But then in
yeah,
another scene, like the main character's ex-wife injects herself with one, and then also there's like the hub that like how do you say sends out the radio signals for all these things. So I was just mostly like extremely curious as to like how all this works, you know?
yeah,
Um, because yeah, it's it just didn't seem to be like this is how you like veil. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if it was showing you like I don't like some drug story or something like that, you would show them like how they like roll a joint or like cut up their cocaine or something like that.
Right.
I don't know if you can say some of those words on some of the channels that we're on, but um but yeah, I think that that definitely could have been done a little bit clearer of just being like, well, what is this thing? But ultimately, all you really need to know is that it's something that presents reality in an altered way, or something that you know
Yeah.
you can buy to how do you to manipulate your reality to be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, and so and then this is what they said about it when they first advertised issue number 1 is it just said a sci-fi mystery thrill ride into a strange dystopian future where a neurological internet connection is transforming reality. And that's the
Okay.
other thing too with the veils is like everybody's connected to Wi-Fi
Mm.
because of their veils. Like, they have to be able to download from the server to
Okay.
to
So I
project
feel
their
like
reality.
the veil itself would be like something that you ingest, and then like the sensation of it being released into your system would have to be like put in by like one of the big corporations that we see in later in the book.
Yeah.
um I feel like we haven't really explained that Sam Dunes is trying to stop um he loses his wife, and he's very confused as to how she died because she was
His
working
ex-wife.
his
Ooh,
ex-wife.
my
Because
yes. Sorry, go on.
no, yeah. Um, yeah, his ex-wife was working with the DOC, which is like the essentially the people that oversee a lot of the veil systems, or like the FBI of veils kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so she was investigating the black veils and just the idea that somebody was trying to build like a very large one, and that's kind of all he knows. So this
Ooh.
story we follow him as he uncovers the what his wife Kendra, I believe her name was, what Kendra was up to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't
Well,
know, man.
and she's behind a lot. Yeah, she was behind a lot of like the not necessarily the creation, but she was like a scientist who studied
Right.
what veils do, and she's also trying to uh it'll spoil the ending if
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
say what I
say.
was just gonna say, but it's just like she has a purpose and like why she's this higher up in this company that does study veils and creates veils, and she's working underground, and she has a purpose behind it to create a sort of black veil, like
Yeah.
a massive scale one.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite comic book review site, which I don't know if you say it or if you're supposed to just say each individual letter because it's something I've read but I've never heard said, but it's AIPT or maybe Aped Comics.
Okay.
They the reviewer gave it a 10 out of 10.
Oh, there you go.
And here's some of his bullet points,
Let's hear it.
which I so far I don't disagree with. So it blends detective noir sensibilities with slick sci-fi ideas that we crave today.
Yep.
Um, it introduces the world with a story within the story that's apt,
Yep.
and introduces a cool sci-fi experience with visuals that back it up. Can't
Hmm.
He had one bad thing to say, which, if you have a bad thing to say about a comic, why are you giving it a 10 out of 10?
Yeah, I don't know if that's how that works.
But he said
What do I know?
some of the Nora tropes are there and are a bit obvious, but that's kind of the point. Well, okay, that makes sense. I
Yeah,
think
so if
you could still give it a 10 out of 10 if
all
that's your.
right, Mr.
We'll allow it
Reviewer,
this time.
we'll allow it, but next time we're gonna hack the internet and take down your review. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. If you're a fan of just sitting with the comicsology thing, or you want to just thumb through some neat stuff, I would definitely recommend picking up or just getting Clear. Maybe they do physical copies. I don't know. But
Uh, I mean, I don't think they always do, but sometimes, I mean, I had that series. We have demons, and that it was a part.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and
I don't know. It was
it
just a
was,
crazy thing to say.
but yeah,
We
it
have
was.
demons.
We have demons.
Get them out of here.
But it was a partnership between Comixology and Dark Horse. So Dark Horse released the print copies, and then it's on Comixology as well. So
Nice. Well, let's just jump back some comments that we got here. We were talking about Scott Snyder put out a new comic today, and our buddy in the chair, Carl, said Night of the Ghoul was the one that came out today, and I'm pretty sure you're correct on that.
Oh, is
Especially
that
because
that's one that Carl got,
oh,
right?
was it? Oh yeah. I think you're right. My goodness. Well, you'll have to let us know how that is, Carl, because I'm genuinely curious. I would pick it up, and that's from Scott Snyder and Francesco Francelia. Sorry
Yeah,
if
there
I
we
butchered that.
go.
And while we were talking, Mr. Magic Born let us know that his uncle has a lot of classic comics. He had
Oh,
them
nice.
graded, and they're all 10s and 9.5s. That's very
Dang,
impressive. I
that
would say
is.
I have none of those. So
I definitely I have no graded comics. You
I
have
know.
at least one, right?
No, I don't have any. I
I thought
have
you had one.
no, I have like original Ant-Man comic that's really precious and like a couple signed stuff, and that's it.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe I should send that Ant-Man in, but I'm too scared. But so we man, this episode's just flying by, buddy. Do you want to talk about 8 billion genies real quick?
Yeah, I guess my first question, or the first thing I would say is a question to you.
Let's hear it.
Are you still like really digging this series?
8 billion genies?
Yeah.
It definitely dropped off a little bit in this issue for me.
Okay.
Mostly because I feel like a something that you and I both really enjoyed was the seeing the wishes in the background. Like just
Yeah.
seeing the random chaos going on of just like randomly you'd see like a giant man in a hula hoop or something like that. Like
Yeah.
just crazy stuff going on in the background. And this one they kind of just set a blank slate for that. They kind of just they're like
But yeah, I mean, there's a reason for that that's in the
yeah,
story. Yeah.
here's what I wanted to say. This definitely feels like a new arc.
Yeah.
And part of it is because of the way that the story is telling it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, 8 Billion Genies is a comic. This is issue number 5 that we're talking about, and it at one point in time, 8 billion genies showed up on the earth and offered everyone living one wish. And then some people used them really quick, some people saved them, but each issue has going in increments of 8. So the first
Yep.
was 8 seconds, second issue was 8 minutes, 8 hours,
8
8 days, and now
years,
we're on
8
uh,
months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Or maybe we might have missed up not seconds or minutes, but you get the trend that it's going by 8 minutes every or 8 whatever into the next increments of time. So
Yeah.
this was months, right? 8 months.
I think we missed weeks. So
Yeah.
there's 8 seconds, 8 minutes, 8 hours, 8 days, 8 weeks.
So
Wait.
maybe that's where we're on now. So because then, well, hold
Yeah.
on. Let's just look at the end and see because it ends with saying come back
Yeah,
to see
you got
the
yours right
first
there.
8 years. Yeah.
8 years. Okay.
So that
So
means that this was 8 months.
yeah.
Or
This
maybe
was
we
eight
skipped.
months.
Or maybe it was first 8 minutes and not 8 seconds. Who knows?
Oh yeah, no, it was the first. Yeah, 8 minutes was the first one.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, for our lovely listeners, you're all smart enough to figure out what the heck we're trying to do. But yeah, so in this issue, you see a lot more of um how do you say this? In the last issue, they talked about how there's certain stages of these events that when they happen, you kind of have like a chaotic period. And then out of that, you have like the period of the gods, which is just
Yeah.
essentially people who ask for essentially superpowers and they go out and they fight a lot of the crime and they live and they survive into the next thing. But we find the characters that we've been following, the many of them, it now separated either in the bar that's essentially safe from everything else outside, and also there's some in a little like how
Well, there's a lot of different degrees of separation. There's physical, there's emotional, there's just
spiritual.
relational. Yeah, like there's just all these different like
God has
disconnects
clearly
between.
abandoned his people.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say too. I think I posted well, along with my capture of my cover, but I think it showed the first. It said like the first 8 weeks or whatever as the title, and
Hmm.
showed the world, and like it was pretty much depleted. There's a big bite out of the side of it,
Yep.
and the human population was like 500,000.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it real quick.
And the genie population is a bit less.
Did the genie pop? Oh, okay. So no, this is interesting. So I looked at a different page. I was looking at the first one because this starts with a different. Yeah. Okay. So the human population is 50 million.
50 million. Okay.
Yeah,
And then like what the genie is what?
significantly less than that. It's
Like
458,000.
yeah, I was gonna say like 500,000.
And those of you who are watching, that's kind of what we're going off of. So the first 8 months, it would be like the name of this issue, and then down here at the bottom, it tells
Well,
you.
like
Uh,
notice like it's all barren wasteland now.
yeah, and there's
Yeah.
that chunk that Mark was referring to. But how do you feel about it? I feel like I've just been talking about it. How do you feel about it? You asked me if I was still
Well,
on it. Are you still on it? What's happening right now?
I'm still on it. I really like it, and
Yeah.
I kind of expected it to dip because, and it like you said, it feels like a new arc, which makes sense with it being 8 issues. This is issue 5.
Yep.
Issue 4 was kind of this climax of wishes, and now we're kind of developing the storyline into what the bartender told us of, like, there's it's going to come down to like the last wish,
Mm-hmm.
and things getting like kind of rebooted, not really
Right.
restored. And
I
but then my other thing I want to say is, like, my mind is really wondering who took the bite out of the world, and I wonder if it was the crime dog, and maybe that's where all the crime was at, and he took a bite out of crime.
wow.
Yeah,
Um.
that's my theory.
Well, God bless you and God love you for that theory. I don't think it's right. I don't think we'll ever come back to it outside of like maybe seeing it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Um, but okay, so there's at the beginning here, there's a little side story that's setting up one of the main character, or a character that's introduced in this episode, or this issue rather, and we get to see where he comes from and why he made the wish that he wished. And he ultimately wished that people would believe in him. And so I think because of that, he ended up being able to lead a colony of people. Um, and what's really fascinating about this is that it looks like people in different communities bargain with wishes. So they're like, or he was going to make a wish. So because of how the genies work, they, if you're not very clear or precise, or if they don't like your wish, they'll kind of alter it.
yeah,
Um, but so like whenever they make a wish, it's like a long legal document. So they have to, go through all of this text, literally multiple pages on the actual comic book itself.
yeah.
And then at the end, the genie's just like, all right, whatever. And then like just puts everything back to a certain way. Um, but yeah, I'm very curious to see, because he seems like he's going to become the villain. Is that fair to assume?
Um, we'll see.
We'll see. So
Like
do you think there's going to
it's
be a bad guy outside of like the genies themselves, maybe?
yeah, it's just like he's obviously being painted as the villain.
Hmm.
And it probably will go that route, but it's also like, is he gonna be the savior at the end?
Oh, maybe. Um,
So that's
yeah.
kind of the other thing I got out of it with that character is,
Do
yeah,
you think?
but like, I mean, tradition shows that yes, he'll probably just end up being the villain. But
Yeah. Here's what I'll ask you. Do you think we will get a satisfying ending for all of the uh characters that were left in the bar? For those of you who don't know, the original story, the original first
yeah,
3 issues kind of follow this group of people who
well,
were all in this bar when this happened.
and now at the end of this issue, only the bartender is left.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone
Or
else went
no,
off
no,
and
no.
did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think the bartender and like 2 other people, maybe
Yeah, but
something like that.
remember Sun Man came
Oh
back.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So, um, yeah, do you think we'll get a satisfying ending like for all of these people? Do you think we'll see the bartender again? Do you think he'll be the last one left, or I mean, he already made his wish,
Yeah.
so I guess not.
Just being somebody who's read Charles Soule in just different formats outside of comics,
Mhm.
he ends things very well.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I've mostly read like Star Wars stuff that he's written, and he knows how to finish. So I'm not too worried about where this comic is going.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make an inappropriate joke if you don't make an inappropriate joke. But yeah, I've been enjoying the heck out of it, man. It's still one of my favorite comics. I think these next 3
Yeah.
issues are going to be, I don't think they'll be as wild as the earlier ones, but I definitely think that they'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be more I don't know. It's gonna be less action packed and probably more story driven these last 3 issues that are coming out.
Yeah, I imagine so. All right, but I mean, yeah, I mean, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that that's like one of our favorite comics out right now. So you
Yeah.
don't have to hear us talk about how much you should be picking it. You should be reading it. Like, just the reality is if you like comics, you should be reading this comic because it is just so good.
Well, and at this point, if you want to catch up and get current, it's probably digital's best way to go, or just
Mm,
wait until the trade paperback comes out in like 5 months from now.
yeah,
So
I'm definitely gonna buy this in trade paperback because I think that'll just look so dang cool.
yeah,
Um, But hey, man, we are rapidly approaching the end of the episode. You want to get in a little bit of that
a couple
old?
shout outs.
Well, yeah. You want to do a couple shout outs? You want to talk about old
Yeah,
dog? Whatever you want to do.
well, something happened for me with Old Dog, and not it, and so I really liked what I got of it, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that. Was it Isa
Asa? Yeah,
that you got last week, and it seemed like it was missing some stuff, or like it didn't print quite correctly.
yeah.
That's kind of what happened with me at this issue of Old Dog behind me.
Issue.
There's
Yeah,
there's
interesting.
there's a couple pages in the middle of it where it's like there's some speech bubbles but no words coming out, and then the panels below it there's no speech bubbles but there's words, and then there's a couple of pages where there's I don't know if it was missing anything at all, but it was just like you can kind of pick up the story from looking at it, but it also seemed a little bit disorganized.
Interesting.
um
We'll have to go
so i
keep
i
our
uh,
eyes out for this.
I had messaged Image like on their
Yo, what's up? You
yeah, I
up?
was just like,
Yo,
hey,
image, you up?
yeah, I don't know exactly what I said, but it was just like I don't know if anybody else had this problem, but like mine didn't seem like it was complete. So
Yeah. Or
but
just screwed up. Did they say
but
anything back to you?
not yet, no.
Oh, Image is
So
busy. They're
they
probably
they
still
got a
answering
lot.
questions about Kick-Ass or Spawn or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they got a lot going on. So
Yeah.
so
But
they don't. But
what'd you
no,
think of what you read?
so what I got of it is I really liked it. It was a good issue one in the setup of like, okay, here's another character kind of down on his luck, kind of like the guy from uh
Hell is this?
hell is a squared circle, not a circled square.
I was gonna make that joke.
But like he's being given another shot to like go out in the field, and um the reviews that I've read of it like all praise it. I think the average rating for it that I saw on like Comic Book Roundup was like maybe like an 8.9.
Okay.
So it was a high 8 point something, I believe. But so yeah, I guess I'm just kind of looking forward to being able to read the issue completely, and see where it goes from there.
Interesting.
And then the other thing, I got two other ones up top here. There we go.
Sure.
I got the roadie here. I'm interested to see where issue 2 goes, because issue 1 was just more of like I don't know, a like setting up the character, like setting up the
Mm-hmm.
main character.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I get that and like where it's going, but it also just it didn't really leave much for me to be like hooked on, because
Sure.
it kind of mentioned the hook like
Yeah.
midway through the comic already, and like that's what it ends on, is like, all right, he has to go save the day. And so I just we'll see how issue 2 goes,
Sure.
if I keep going with it. And then New Think
Oh yeah. How was
was
that?
really really interesting. This one, I know
Mm.
you dropped this, you quit getting it, but it is just like an interesting take. There's only one more issue left after this one, and this one was like essentially like shamanic type people of the past are telling the people of their time what the future is going to be like.
Mm,
All while like it's showing scenes at the top of each page from like what it's like modernly, and then down below what they're going through like while this like sage type person is telling them about what the future is going to be like. And so
interesting.
it was a really interesting like concept. It was, so it was completely narrated, but it also switched like it was like the same speech given by all these different sages throughout time.
Mm,
So it it was probably the most interesting out of all the issues, but for I don't know, issue number 1 is still like my favorite of them all. And so I'm interested to see how this last one will be that comes out next month.
right.
Um,
All
so
right.
we'll see. I stuck with it,
Nice.
and you didn't.
I didn't. I might pick up that issue because I'm a big fan of the cover. And the honestly the topic doesn't sound too terrible.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll jump in on that. But yeah, I am trying to think of what comic I want to shout out first, Mark. But
What do you got?
so read End After End number 2. This is a story about a gentleman whose name is Walt. He dies in the first issue, and then he goes to the End After End, which is
Oh,
essentially like a purgatory place where he is thrown into this kind of like eternal battle that's going on.
yeah.
Um, and I really love the art. I really love the premise of the story, but it's really dragging its feet. Um, I'll
Okay.
I'll pick up issue 3, but I hope that that's where it picks up because yeah, it just seems like I don't know. Um, yeah, like I said, it feels like it's just dragging its feet and has a story to tell, but it kind of wants to spread it out. It's probably going to be one of those comics that like are 6 issues and it should have just been 4 or something like that, or one
Yeah.
good one shot, you know. But I am enjoying it. If that premise sounds cool to you, I would definitely recommend jumping on that. Next one I want to shout out real quick is Flawed number 1. And you were talking earlier about that guy who went from CIA to Batman writing.
Yeah.
This feels like something that would have been written by somebody like that. The premise
Okay.
is that there's like a psychiatrist, and she people who have been the victim of like serial killers or like terrible people, the worst of the worst, come to this lady for counseling. But she also is kind of like a detective, so she picks up on clues based on like the things that the people are telling her about them, and then she goes out and does some vigilante work.
Okay.
And yeah, so she's fighting a guy right now called the Skinwalker, and she finds him in this issue, and she shoots him, and he doesn't die. She shoots him in the head, and he just is like, oh, oh. And so like, and he has a bullet wound through his whole head, but and then so it's like, is he like immortal or like what's going on with this world? So it's cool because it's
Maybe his brain is not in his head.
or maybe you just like you get shot in a certain spot and it doesn't kill you right away. But no, she does other things to
I
him.
can't mention skinwalkers around my kids.
Oh, why?
There's a whole like mythology behind like skinwalker.
I've never
It's
heard of such a thing.
Yeah,
Is it
it's like attributed to like the native cultures that are in my area of America.
interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds like something that a psychopath would be interested in. And speaking of psychopaths, that Texas Blood continues to be amazing. So this is the Red Queen Killer on the cover here. That's the name of
Okay.
the bad guy for this arc. And this issue, it wasn't like the greatest in the world, but what was really cool is you got to see like how he waits for people at their house. There's like a couple of like what he's doing at the house is very much the side story to the main story, and the main story has
Yeah.
something to do with like something else that's been going on in the arc. But in this issue, we kind of just get to see him like break into somebody's house, and then like he makes him a sandwich, and like
Yeah.
just to see like how he cuts his sandwich is like really weird. And like he shaves with a razor that he found in the garbage, and it's just like, oh, this guy is like super unsettling. Like, not only will he break into your house, but he'll make food with your food and shave with your razor. That's
Huh.
so unsettling. Like, I would hate to be killed by somebody who just like went through my pantry, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
But
Just
maybe
like
good on them. They need.
come out of your pantry like eating some Cheez-Its.
That's exactly what would be in my
It's
pantry.
time to die.
Time to die. Crunch, 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 crunch. But yeah, and then I Hate This Place, Volume 5, or rather Issue 5, wraps up Volume 1. That's why I got those words confused. But it was really kind of anticlimactic. I knew this was going to be going farther than just one volume.
Yeah.
The bad guy was kind of taken care of, but then a new bad guy was introduced at the end. So it looks like this comic is just going to continue to follow around this cursed farm and the couple that lives there, and the silly and scary and, I don't know another word, antics that they all get into. Yeah, and I've been enjoying it. I don't see myself stopping to pull this unless like it really dips. It's kind of like it. I was really driving for a long time, and then like it just kind of like it's flying right now. You know how like when a plane takes off, Mark? Have you ever been in a plane?
Is it kind of like a bird that isn't flapping, it's just soaring?
It's soaring. It's very
Yeah.
much soaring right now. So let's hope that like everything that came before it is good enough to keep that bird going. But
Well,
speaking of
keeping
birds, buddy,
we
do you,
gotta this bird's gotta land.
are you ready to land this? I guess okay. So
Oh, well, first we got one more thing to address from Dr. Magic Born. It's the ultimate question of all time: Marvel or DC? And I feel like we've addressed this in past issues or episodes.
yeah. We at least we both did that exact same fluff up this episode.
Issues, episodes, blah blah blah.
It's
Whatever.
all the same. I would say that DC's characters are better. And Marvel is fine. I personally I would read more Marvel than I would DC. But again,
Yeah.
I think DC probably has better characters. But I
Thing is,
haven't been a
I'll put it at DC has Batman, and
but even I guess that's true.
it's just like, I mean, Batman's just such an iconic character in the comic book world, and
Sure.
that's just one character from DC that's always going to have like my respect. And
Yeah.
really, the only DC thing that I read right now, when I've picked up other
Same.
characters from DC recently, I just haven't really enjoyed it. I'm liking Sword of Azrael, for instance, but it's also just like it's just not as dark and grimy as like Batman is. And like a lot of DC for
Interesting.
me too is just like very Superman-esque, and like he's from Metropolis, which is like a sparkly, beautiful city that yes
Right.
also has its crime, but it's not dark and gritty like Gotham. And I feel like more DC characters are more like Superman leaning than they are Batman leaning. And and I feel like Marvel is a good in between those, if we put Batman and Superman at two ends, I feel like Marvel leans more towards the Batman than the Superman.
Yeah, I think it definitely
And
tends to, especially with characters like Daredevil and the like.
yeah. And so overall I'd have to go Marvel, but it's just like DC is still just like right up there.
And Marvel technically does have all of the Star Wars, and he's got Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I do kind of think that they're like two sides of one coin to some degree.
I guess it really comes down to is that Marvel does a lot better at acquiring and marketing.
Yeah, I would 100% agree that is correct. But yeah, I don't have anything against either of these guys, but like, because there are like some really cool stuff. I just on a random note somehow this week heard about how how like there's Sword and Shield in the Marvel universe, and they deal with like Sword is like kind of super powered and terrorist stuff, and or Shield rather is like all that stuff, and Sword is the outer space.
Yeah.
Apparently they have a supernatural element called Stake, which I didn't know about, and there's a Dum Dum Dugan life model decoy on that team. And so like in my head I'm like, you can't get that without all of the history that Marvel has, because
Yeah.
even like Steak is an offshoot of Sword, and Dum Dum Dugan is like a Howling Commandos from the fucking 40s or 50s or something like that. So
Yeah.
like in order to tell that story and make it not sound cheap and like contrite, which it seems like that would be like an Image comic or something like that premise of like there's a life model decoy and he's after like vampires or whatever. But I think Marvel is able to tell those stories and build those worlds because it spent so long weaving those narratives and not constantly rebooting like they are now. But they had a long time of not doing that.
Yeah, they brought in a lot of characters to kind of just build their Marvel kingdom. But speaking of all that and answering that question, we got to land this bird. So
Let's land this
again,
bird.
thank you to Carl, Ethan, and Dr. Magic Born for joining us today and commenting. We love having people on here to chat with. So guys, please come back next week, and we'll be back next week. And next week, is it?
We'll have a surprise for you. I don't want to tell you what that.
We got
a surprise for you.
Yeah,
and make sure to like us wherever you are watching this at. We really need to up our subscribers and our like count on everything. So if you could help out with that, that would be great. If you know somebody who's into comics and like you think that they would enjoy this, go ahead and send this to them.
it's just, it's got a little word of mouth going on.
Yeah, tell your neighbor. When was the last time you talked to your neighbor? Just go outside and just knock on their door and just be like, "You like comic
Hey, have
books?
You heard of the pullbox
pal?" And they'll be like, "No, get out of here. What are you doing, crazy person? Send me an email or text message." Yeah, man. And I guess we haven't really done this in a while, but shout out to our buddy Anthony Blackwell Jr. He continues to let us use this the service that we use to stream from. He's doing some awesome stuff. I was watching him do the Assassin's Creed, I think it is. He's doing he's like live streaming those at night. I was watching him do that the other night, and I was watching some of his videos. So, and he's getting like great views. So make sure that you go over there and attribute to those views and all that fun stuff. But yeah, buddy, this was a real fun episode. I don't know how you feel.
I rather enjoyed it.
Are we gonna have anything to talk about next week in a mutual thing? Because I think the only thing that we both got was, well, Batman, but you didn't even get Batman.
I haven't gotten that yet, but we'll find something.
Wow. Or we can also. Oh wait, no, yeah, we have stuff going.
There's a lot of stuff on Comixology.
Yeah, and I just remembered we're gonna be doing something else next week, but I'm gonna stop giving away spoilers and teasers for next week's episode. But make sure you come back for issue number 25. I did it on purpose that time.
Yeah, but end of the 5th volume.
Yeah, so make sure you follow us on Pullbox Pals. Follow Mark at Mad Nerdy and me at Stoned and Nerdy. And I'm probably going to change that name in a few weeks or a few days or whatever. But yeah, we'll see. But Mark, I have one thing to say to you, buddy.
Bye.
It's comic, baby, or whatever it was.
It's comics, baby.
That's comics, baby. Maybe it should be what our catchphrase is. That's comics, baby. Wow.
We'll try it out next week.
All right. God bless everybody. See ya.